colours to choose from.
Yeah.
Kia ora and welcome everyone to today's Facebook Live session. It is around immunisations. Today with me I have Bernadette Heaphy and Renee Stewart, both from Immunisation Advisory. So would you ladies like to introduce yourself, just a little bit about your role and what you do?
Okay. Kia ora koutou, everyone, and welcome. It's great to be back. It's always a pleasure to come and do these Facebook Live chats with Plunkett and to have the opportunity to talk around immunisation. So I'm Bernadette Heaphy. I'm a Program Manager at the Immunisation Advisory Centre. I'm a registered nurse by background. I've been working in the immunisation field all of my nursing career. So whether, from at the coalface giving vaccines through to now working on education programs and providing support in the background. So pleasure to be here, Linda. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, you've done lots of these Facebooks with us now, Bernadette. So yeah.
One or two.
Huge wealth of knowledge. Yeah. And Renee, welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Linda. Kia ora koutou. My name's Renee Stewart. I am the Regional Immunisation Advisor for Midlands, and I'm based here in Te Tairāwhiti, Gisborne. So a pleasure to be here today. And yes, my background, I've been nursing for about, coming up 16 years now. I used to say 15 straight off the cuff, but time's going fast. But 16 years, been with IMAC for the last just over 2 years. So yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
Great, thank you. So this week is Immunisation Week.
Happy Immunisation Week. It's great that it gets a week to celebrate across the globe. The theme this year, the big catch-up, and I think that applies to all of us. We've had an incredible last couple of years or 3 years with COVID, and now's the opportunity to really focus and catch up on childhood immunisations and vaccines across the lifespan. So happy Immunisation Week.
Great. So what does catch up mean? What does it look like? What do parents need to do? Tell us a bit more about it.
Well, I guess the first message there is always that vaccinating our tamariki on time does provide them with the best protection, but actually it's never too late. If you've missed an immunisation event for whatever reason, life gets in the way sometimes, it is possible to catch up. And in New Zealand, we're really lucky. The vaccines on the National Immunisation Schedule are free up until we turn 18 years of age, and then there are some things that are slightly different after that. Contact your healthcare provider if you think your child might be missing some immunisations, or if you just want to check they're up to date. Never too late to catch up.
Great. So the practice nurse really is probably the best one to go to for that, isn't she? Like, she'll have the records about what vaccines have been given, what the baby's or what your child's due for.
Yes, in most instances, the nurse at your primary healthcare provider will be able to support you and give you that information around what vaccines your child's had. The other place that you may be able to look it up is actually in the back of your Well Child Tamariki Ora book. For those of us who are still holding on to them, they get lost in the chaos of life sometimes, but they're actually a really important record as well.
Okay. So what are some of the illnesses that we particularly need to be focusing on at the moment? Like we know that there's been 3 really sad and unfortunate deaths from pertussis or, whooping cough at the moment in New Zealand. It's incredibly tragic for those families involved. So is that one of the illnesses that we really need to be mindful of at the moment? And is there any others going around that we really need to pay particular attention to?
Do you want me to cover this part?
Yeah, go for it, Renee.
Yes. Unfortunately, with whooping cough, we have had some very sad news in regards to 3 babies passing away. So yeah, there is a bit of a push and a drive to, for those hapu mama, especially for those to be able to have that vaccine to cover whooping cough. So in regards to hapu mama at the moment, they are eligible for 3 vaccines. They can have boostrix, which does cover the pertussis, diphtheria, and tetanus. That all comes into one, and that's safe to have when you're hapu. And that's generally given in the second trimester. So we recommend at about 16 weeks pregnant. And then also we've got the influenza vaccine that's now available, and we really highly recommend hapu mama also getting that vaccine as well, and that can be given at any time of pregnancy. And also our COVID-19 vaccines as well. So also the same for hapu mama, they can have it at any time. So that's kind of the focus for our hapu mama. For those any tamariki, it's those vaccines that we do have on the schedule. Do you want to say anything else in regards to that, Bernadette?
I think it's really important to think of the hapu mama vaccines as being the beginning of the program for our tamariki. And I think in terms of pertussis, we're particularly concerned about young infants getting whooping cough because they are at greater risk of the complications of whooping cough. And by pregnant people having the vaccine during pregnancy, they pass antibodies over to their baby. And I think of antibodies as being like little fighters. And so they go over to the baby, and if the baby comes in contact with whooping cough, then those fighters are on board to be able to fight off the infection. With flu, hapu mama are at greater risk of the complications of flu. They are far more likely to be hospitalised with influenza than their non-pregnant counterparts. So it is a really important vaccine for them. In terms of our pipi and tamariki, the vaccine program starts at 6 weeks. And so you're looking at protection at that event against rotavirus, which is a gastrointestinal virus, vomiting, diarrhea, quite unpleasant. And then also looking at protection against diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, polio, Haemophilus influenzae type B, which we generally call HIB because it's much easier to say, hepatitis B, and pneumococcal disease. So, there's a lot in there. It's important to get that protection on board, and 6 weeks is that starting point. There is a new vaccine on our schedule. It's not a new vaccine internationally, but new to New Zealand, which is the meningococcal B vaccine. And that there's an alternative schedule where that comes into play at 8 weeks, or it's given at the 3-month immunisation event. So we've got a world-class immunisation schedule in New Zealand. And as I said before, it's free for children under the age of 18, regardless of their immigration status. So really important. I guess the other thing probably to mention here, because it doesn't go away, although so far we've been really lucky, and I'll just touch wood on that, is measles.
Oh, yes.
Measles.
Please touch wood. Yes. Oh, dear.
Measles is highly infectious. It passes person to person really easily when we've got an unvaccinated group of people together. So for New Zealand, our risk is someone bringing measles into New Zealand, and then it's spreading amongst our unvaccinated population. The first measles vaccine on our immunisation schedule is given at 12 months. So that's the measles, mumps and rubella. So we'd really encourage that parents do check that their children are up to date for that. And also that we check that we've got our doses on board as well. Actually, I shouldn't say ours because I'm getting a little bit older, but particularly for people under the age of 30, just checking that they've also had their doses of measles, mumps and rubella vaccine, because measles is only a plane ride away. So there is a lot on our schedule, and it can feel really overwhelming. So it's really important, I think, that you do have a discussion with your healthcare provider around immunisation, if you've got any worries or concerns or any questions, that you have the opportunity to ask those questions, and make a decision that supports the health and wellness of your whānau. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where are some of the resources or some of the places that whānau can go to if they do have any questions, or they're wanting to just find out a little bit more information about the immunisations? Like, so you've mentioned they can talk to their healthcare providers. Is there anywhere else that they can turn to? I know there's Plunket line, 0800 933 922. Yeah, but are you ladies aware of other resources that they can use?
They could head on to our website also. So the Immunisation Advisory Centre, that's a really great resource for both health professionals and also, parents and our general population. So also, Bernadette?
Yeah, I was going to say there's the new and exciting, the Te Whatu Ora have put out immunise.health.govt.nz, I think, is the new immunisation website. And it is really packed with useful, helpful information presented in a very, I think, parent-friendly way. And there's even a tool you can put in your child's name and I think their date of birth, and it will tell you the dates that their vaccines would be due. And it's a really cool little chart.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, but that's, a new website and, really packed with information.
Great, fantastic. Because it's absolutely okay for parents to have questions around immunisations. Like, it is a big step. And it is okay to have those questions. It's just knowing where to go to get that right information and the, up-to-date, accurate information. So, yeah, some good resources there for them to use.
Yeah, I mean, for parents, there's so much information out there, and it's not, not just on immunisation, but on everything else. What type of nappies do I use? How do I feed my baby? When do I introduce solids? There's so much to sift through, and actually finding the right places to go and get reputable information is actually really important for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a question that's just come in, and I think it's a really good one. So this mama has a 4-month-old infant at her 3-month vaccination appointment. My practice nurse asked if I'd given her paracetamol for the new injection for meningitis. I didn't, and planned to complete it, but didn't because my infant had diarrhea after the rotavirus. Can she take it later?
Yes, is the short answer. Yeah, you're right. It is overwhelming, and unfortunately, rotavirus vaccine can lead to diarrhea afterwards, and it can, it's an unpleasant thing to deal with. So in terms of when that can happen is any time now. So there's no particular interval between when she had her other 3-month vaccines to when they can go in and have their Men B or meningococcal B vaccine. So
And to add to that, her asking around paracetamol, giving paracetamol before Bexsero, we do highly recommend this. Even if 30 minutes before the first the dose, and then every 4 to 6 hours after, with a maximum of 4 doses in the 24 hours, and this helps reduce the risk of high fevers in those who are under 2.
Okay. So is the paracetamol more important for those under 2 than the over 2s, or do you do it for both age groups?
Just for the under 2s.
Yeah. Under 2s, right. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's good. Well, I hope, Ellie, that's answered your question about that. And, yes, there is a lot to fit in, but great to know. So, maybe once the diarrhea settled down, then making that appointment with your primary care provider and going and getting that immunisation done. Then,
And so just in terms of, because the child didn't have the Men B vaccine at 3 months, when they do get their dose of vaccine, their second dose will be 8 weeks later. So that won't time in with the 5-month vaccines, but
Okay.
it'll be a visit just after that. But then the next one will still be due at 12 months. I had to think about that. I'm surprised you didn't see the smoke coming out of the head. I'm trying to think now, when is it on the schedule? So yes. So it'll just be, and you just need to, book those appointments in with the vaccinator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just, I guess it's just something that the question from Ali has prompted, is just the meningitis is a result of infection. And particular infections can cause meningitis, and it's not just meningococcal disease. So already, children who have had their 6-week and 3-month will have had vaccines against diseases that can cause meningitis. So Haemophilus influenzae type B and pneumococcal disease also can cause meningitis. So just, important just in terms of thinking about, hey, I'm already doing an awesome job at helping protect my tamariki by having those other vaccines done as well. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
And hopefully that diarrhea from following the rotavirus vaccine will settle down very shortly. It certainly doesn't take as long as rotavirus, the disease, does in terms of and that diarrhea can be very smelly.
Oh yes, and quite full on. So
yes.
Yeah. What are, just sort of while we're on the topic of side effects, what are some of the common side effects that parents can expect following immunisations, particularly for our little babies?
So the general, just being a little bit moody, a bit grumpy, a bit upset. They can get a bit of a fever, a mild fever. So we do recommend, cooling cares, not just, for Big Zero, we do recommend prophylactic paracetamol. Prophylactic means giving it before you actually get the vaccine. But, cooling cares, cooling measures, a cold flannel, a nice lukewarm, bath, taking the clothes off. What else? Just a little bit of pain at the sites sometimes, bit of swelling and redness at the site. They're quite common side effects from these vaccines. Is there anything else I've missed off there, Bernadette? They're quite the common ones,
Yeah, they would be the most common ones, but obviously Ali's question has prompted is that, yes, following rotavirus vaccine, children can develop some diarrhea. Really important, make sure we wash our hands after dealing with any dirty nappies. That applies across the board, not just related to the vaccine. Just getting in the hand washing message there as well. Good public health opportunity. I guess in terms of, whenever we give a vaccine, we're presenting something to the immune system and we're asking the immune system to respond. And it does that in a number of ways. And mostly what we see post-vaccination are the general responses. So the soreness at injection site is all of, what we'd consider white cell activity. So that's the first line of defense at that injection site. Fever is a really common response from the immune system because the bugs don't like the warmer environment, so they don't replicate as fast, and so it's just a standard response. And fever's not, in general, fever's not a bad thing. It just needs to be managed appropriately. So I think if you've got any questions or concerns after your child's been vaccinated, if it's after hours, give Plunkett Line a call. Have a chat with an informed health professional who can take you through that process. During the daytime, give your practice a call back, but just know Plunkett Line's there as well to help you with any concerns or questions.
Yeah. I know one of the common questions that we quite often get asked on Plunkett Line, and Renee, I'm pleased you said about, using a warm bath, is actually, can I bath my baby after they've had an immunisation? So, that was really good that you reiterated that actually it is safe, it's fine, it's not going to affect the immunisation in any way, and actually, it will help baby to sort of feel a bit calmer and just sort of, help with some of that discomfort maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Frequent feeds and just
Extra
I mean,
Cuddles, heaps
extra
of cuddles.
cuddles. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that's good. Is there no, oh, sorry, that thought went out of my mind. Did something go?
Yeah. I guess just one other thing while I'm thinking about it, just thinking about influenza vaccine. This year, the influenza vaccine's actually being funded for children from 6 months to 12 years of age. And this is the first year it's being funded across the board like that. So I think it's a really good opportunity if you're thinking about getting an influenza vaccine for yourself, thinking about getting one for your tamariki as well. So, and great that it's being funded. Not just for children who have asthma or diabetes, but for all kids between 6 months and 12 years. Yep.
Yeah.
And in the first year that your child has a flu vaccine, they do need 2 doses. But I'm sure, your vaccinator will talk to you about that. And that's just making sure that they have a good response and get good protection on board.
Yeah.
So that's just the first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good because, influenza is very different than the common virus. It's
Coughs and colds, not the same.
not the same, no. And I think sometimes we sort of forget that actually influenza can be very serious. Yeah. So, it's great news that now our little people can get immunised against it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and particularly, when we've got lots more children now who are in early childhood centres, sort of in, larger groups where illnesses and things can spread just a little bit easier. So having that added protection on board is really important to help, prevent them from getting the more serious illnesses.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Were there any other sort of messages that you ladies wanted to get out there today, just to sort of, support, encourage parents to, keep up to date with their immunisations, or, start the immunisation process? As you said earlier, Bernadette, it's never too late to start. If for whatever reason it's been delayed, pick up the phone, make those appointments today and get it started. It can happen at any time.
Yeah, I think that would be, my primary message. It is an important decision for, tamariki and for the whole whānau around immunising. It's important to have a conversation with a trusted healthcare professional around what is best for you and what is best for your whānau. And to have that opportunity to ask any questions. It is an informed choice, and it is a choice in New Zealand. It's from the point of view of a public health, protecting not just yourself but also the community. The more people who are vaccinated, immunised, the better. It prevents diseases like measles from spreading, and protects those who can't be vaccinated as well. There are, a very small number of people for whom they can't have certain vaccines. So by vaccinating ourselves when we're able to be is really important to help protect them as well. And just thinking about, kids who are having cancer treatment, some of our vulnerable adults who, I guess cancer treatment is the most common one in terms of people who are particularly vulnerable, or who can't have what we call live vaccines. So, yeah.
Great. Renee, did you have any sort of messages that you wanted to get across?
Yeah, mine would be exactly what Bernadette's just covered. However, I would add to that would be, having Plunkett or tamariki auto nurses coming in, especially at that 6-week check, or prior to that 6-week check, asking around, vaccinations. There are some reasons why sometimes whānau can't get to a GP practice and book in for an appointment. So have that korero with your Plunkett nurse or tamariki auto nurse around that and what barriers that you may have. I know sometimes that can be a little bit whakamā for whānau to share those reasons. However, there are other options. Obviously we do, recommend going in to see your GP. It's really good to get that checkup from the GP. But there are options that sometimes we can vaccinate from home. There's certain services that can. So, but have that caught all with your nurse or your trusted healthcare professional.
Absolutely. And that's the same for whānau who are struggling, because we hear it all the time on the phones that there are certain parts of New Zealand where they're really short on GPs and practices aren't taking on new clients.
No.
And they will ring Plunkett Line and say, we can't get into a GP, so how do we get our baby immunised? But do ring us, because we can put you in contact with other services that will be able to help you get those immunisations still. It's difficult. Sorry, someone else has just asked a question around chickenpox and the idea of chickenpox parties.
No.
No.
Gosh. I know everyone's like, no, don't have
good question though, because it's not a silly question. These questions, this is raised quite a few times. Yeah. So highly recommend not to have a chickenpox party. Some kids may only have a mild infection, but others could have quite a more severe response to chickenpox. And there is a really good vaccine out there for chickenpox for those who are 15 months.
Yep. So it's on. There's a single dose of chickenpox vaccine at 15 months. The other group who may be offered a chickenpox vaccine is if you've got to 11 years of age and you've never had chickenpox, the disease, or a chickenpox vaccine. There's an opportunity there to catch up and have a dose of chickenpox vaccine. But the idea of chickenpox parties, I think these are things, there's one for every generation, isn't there? It used to be measles parties and now it's sort of evolved and but really it's that risk of, is my child going to get mild or severe disease? And the opportunity to offer protection with vaccination is really important. So
good question though.
And even though so I've got 4 children, and when my children had chickenpox years ago, they all sort of came down with it within about 24 hours of each other. It was a horrendous time, I have to say. 2 of them were absolutely fine and came through it beautifully. 2 of them were really, really sick. So even within the same family, if you've got more than one child, they can all react to it so very, very differently. So don't think just because one child in your family's had it and they were absolutely fine, that your other children are going to follow suit, because it just doesn't work out like that.
No.
So chickenpox parties, no.
It's going to say, I think, Linda, you kind of, lucky's the wrong word, but all of them getting it within 24 hours. It's the families where you get to day 3 and the second child gets it, and then you get to day 5 and the next child, and you're just going for weeks, it feels like, with chickenpox developing in the household.
I felt very lucky, but I do remember going to the GP and getting this very big bottle of pine tassel for the baths. So there was a lot of bathing going on with pine tassel in my house during that time. I can tell you it was an interesting time. But yes, I'm not sure at the time. I felt it was lucky that they all came down together. But knowing now, sort of, the length of time it can go on for.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's good. All right. Oh, well, look, I guess take-home messages from today is, it is never too late to start the immunisation schedule. If it's been delayed for whatever reason, don't think that you can't get it or you can't start it. You can start it at any time. That's absolutely fine. It's better to have it, than not have it at all. There are different, services and organisations out there that you can contact to get, the good, accurate, relevant information around immunisations. And that's, that's okay to reach out and ask those questions. Plunkett Line is there for you to talk to, before and after immunisations. We're there 24/7. So if you've got an unsettled baby in the evening, early hours of the morning, pick up the phone, give us a ring, 0800 933 922. Immunisation Advisory Centre website is great. Go and have a look at the information there, and Te Whatu Ora's immunisation online information as well. Yeah.
Yep. So lots of places to get information, and definitely I think that middle of the night phone call to Plunket line, because you can feel so alone,
Yes.
and you just want to ask a question, and there's always that supportive nursing voice at the end of the phone. So absolutely fantastic.
Sure.
So I guess happy Immunisation Week. Thank you, Plunket, for having us along.
Thank you.
And it's always great to have this discussion. And if people do post questions later, we're happy to help answer if they come through.
Absolutely. And look, pleasure hosting you two ladies. Thank you. Always appreciate it. Lovely sharing this wonderful knowledge that you both have. So thank you for today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And ka kite, everyone who's been joining in today. Thank you for joining us. And see you next time.
Ka kite.